Welcome to Mysteries and Crime, the channel that dives deep into history's most fascinating true crime stories. Today we unravel the chilling story of a man whose twisted path left a dark legacy forever enshrined in the annals of crime. But first, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button for more intriguing mysteries every week. Jame Gumb, often referred to by his chilling moniker, Buffalo Bill, remains one of the most perplexing figures in criminal history. His crimes, motivations, and psyche have inspired countless debates among criminologists and psychologists. While many associate the name with fiction, the reality is equally, if not more, harrowing. Let's dive into the facts surrounding this enigmatic figure. Born in 1948, Gumb's early life was marked by instability and neglect. Abandoned by his mother, a struggling alcoholic, Gumb spent his formative years in a series of foster homes. These early experiences allegedly fueled his sense of rejection and contributed to his developing a fractured identity. Reports from social workers describe him as a quiet, withdrawn boy who often displayed troubling signs of emotional detachment. As he grew older, Gumb's behavior took a more disturbing turn. By his early 20s, he was allegedly engaging in petty theft and animal cruelty, both red flags often associated with future violent offenders. Friends and acquaintances from this time recall his erratic mood swings and obsessive tendencies, particularly his fixation on body image and personal appearance. These erratic behaviors were often overlooked or dismissed as quirks of an eccentric personality, allowing Gumb to navigate society relatively unnoticed. Yet, beneath the surface, his obsessions were festering. The idea of transformation consumed his thoughts, and he began to experiment with ways to reinvent himself, both mentally and physically. He was allegedly drawn to concepts of metamorphosis, influenced by literature and art that celebrated radical change. His fascination with transformation took root during these years. He allegedly became consumed with the idea of physical and psychological metamorphosis, inspired by a combination of pop culture, art, and his internal struggles. This obsession led him to explore unconventional paths, including an interest in sewing and fashion design, skills he would later use in horrifying ways. In 1976, Gumb met Benjamin Raspail, a wealthy yet troubled individual with his own eccentricities. The two formed a tumultuous relationship, but their bond quickly soured, allegedly due to Gumb's erratic behavior and violent tendencies. Following their split, Raspail vanished under mysterious circumstances, and while Gumb was never formally charged, suspicions lingered. Raspail's disappearance was only the beginning of what would become a long and macabre tale. The disappearance of Raspail marked the beginning of a chilling pattern. Over the next several years, authorities began to notice a series of disappearances, all sharing common characteristics. The victims, primarily young women, were often abducted from public spaces only to reappear days later, brutally murdered. The macabre detail that linked these crimes? Each victim bore strange, deliberate incisions on their skin. Gumb's modus operandi was as calculated as it was grotesque. Allegedly, he would stalk his victims for weeks, meticulously planning each abduction. Witnesses described a man who often feigned vulnerability, sometimes pretending to be injured or in need of help, to lure his targets into a false sense of security. Once abducted, his victims were subjected to unimaginable horrors before meeting their tragic fate. Authorities struggled to identify the perpetrator. Gumb was meticulous, leaving behind little evidence and carefully choosing victims from different regions to avoid establishing patterns. It wasn't until a chance discovery that the pieces began to fall into place. A fragment of evidence, overlooked during the initial investigation of one victim's disappearance, eventually led detectives to Gumb's doorstep. What they found inside his home would shock even the most seasoned investigators. Walls adorned with bizarre, handmade garments, unsettling photographs, and meticulously organized tools painted a grim picture of his obsessions. The most horrifying discovery, however, was a collection of human remains, each intricately prepared, suggesting a chilling purpose behind his crimes. Authorities described the scene as a nightmarish tableau, revealing the true extent of Gumb's disturbing fantasies. The media frenzy that followed turned Gumb into a household name, dubbed Buffalo Bill due to his alleged method of skinning his victims. The moniker added a grotesque layer to the already sensationalized case. As details of his crimes emerged, public fascination grew, fueled by both the horrifying nature of his actions and the unanswered questions surrounding his motivations. But the most chilling discovery was yet to come. Among the macabre evidence were journals filled with meticulously written plans, sketches, and accounts of each crime. These documents revealed not only the extent of Gumb's premeditation, but also offered a glimpse into the complex and disturbed mind that orchestrated these heinous acts. Additionally, investigators unearthed a series of videotapes chronicling elements of his interactions with the victims and providing disturbing insight into his twisted psyche. With each new revelation, the depths of his depravity became even more apparent. Despite the overwhelming evidence found at Gumb's residence, investigators were faced with the daunting task of piecing together the full extent of his crimes. The journals and videotapes recovered during the search painted a horrifying picture of a man consumed by his delusions of transformation. These documents outline not only his methods, but also the chilling rationale behind them. Each entry revealed a step-by-step process, meticulously planned to achieve a grotesque goal: the creation of what he are. Gumb's ultimate objective was as horrifying as it was incomprehensible. His writings described a twisted desire to craft a suit made entirely from human skin. This disturbing aspiration, he claimed, was rooted in a deep-seated dissatisfaction with his own identity and a warped belief that donning the skin of his victims would allow him to transcend his perceived limitations. The idea, grotesque as it was, offered a chilling insight into his fractured psyche. Forensic experts and psychologists brought in to analyze Gumb's writings were struck by the depth of his delusions. His notes detailed not only his methods, but also his bizarre rituals, which he believed were essential to his transformation. The combination of these acts, investigators concluded, reflected a rare and extreme manifestation of psychopathy, characterized by a complete lack of empathy and an obsession with control and domination. As news of the discovery spread, public reaction was one of shock and revulsion. The graphic details of Gumb's crimes were splashed across headlines, fueling widespread fascination with the case. Media outlets competed to uncover every detail, and in doing so, they painted a picture of a man who embodied the darkest depths of human depravity. Yet amidst the sensationalism, there remained a profound sense of grief for the victims whose lives were brutally cut short. The investigation into Gumb's past revealed further troubling details. Former acquaintances and co-workers came forward, sharing anecdotes that, in hindsight, hinted at his disturbing tendencies. Some recalled his obsessive interest in anatomy and human skin, often masking his morbid curiosity under the guise of professional pursuits. Others described his manipulative behavior and his ability to charm those around him, traits that likely enabled him to evade suspicion for so long. One of the most striking revelations came from interviews with individuals who had narrowly escaped becoming his victims. Their accounts provided crucial insights into Gumb's methods and mindset. One survivor recounted how Gumb had approached her under the pretense of needing assistance, feigning injury to gain her trust. It was only through sheer luck and quick thinking that she managed to escape his grasp. Her testimony, along with that of other survivors, helped prosecutors piece together the chilling. Gumb's trial, when it finally began, was one of the most widely followed in the nation's history. The courtroom was packed with journalists, legal experts, and members of the public, all eager to witness the proceedings. The prosecution presented a mountain of evidence, including the journals, videotapes, and forensic findings, which painted an irrefutable picture of Gumb's guilt. Meanwhile, the defense attempted to argue diminished capacity, citing his severe psychological issues as a mitigating factor. The testimonies of survivors and forensic experts proved pivotal in securing a conviction. Their accounts, combined with the overwhelming physical evidence, left no room for doubt. After weeks of testimony and deliberation, the jury delivered its verdict: guilty on all counts. Gumb was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, ensuring that he would never again pose a threat to society. Following the trial, the case continued to capture public imagination, sparking debates about the nature of evil, the role of mental illness in criminal behavior, and the limitations of the justice system in addressing such extreme cases. It also prompted renewed calls for improved mental health support and early intervention programs, as experts pointed to Gumb's troubled upbringing as a potential warning sign that went unaddressed. Yet for all the questions raised, one thing remained clear: the need to honor the memory of Gumb's victims. Each life lost represented a world of potential, tragically cut short by one man's twisted ambitions. Memorials were held in their honor, and their families worked tirelessly to ensure that their stories would not be overshadowed by the notoriety of their killer. But even as the dust settled, a haunting question lingered. Could there be other victims? The meticulous nature of Gumb's crimes suggested a level of planning that might have extended beyond the known cases. Investigators revisited cold cases and missing persons reports, searching for potential links to Gumb. While no definitive connections were established, the possibility that his true victim count might never be known added another layer of tragedy to the case. With each unanswered question, the scale of his crimes continued to cast a dark shadow on the justice system. As investigators delved deeper into the case, public fascination with Jame Gumb's story only grew. His crimes, though horrific, shone a light on the darker corners of human psychology and the ways in which society fails to address warning signs in time. The legacy of his case is not just one of tragedy, but also one that sparked critical conversations about mental health, law enforcement, and justice. One of the most poignant aspects of Gumb's case was the lasting impact on the victims' families. Each life lost represented not only a tragedy, but a void that could never be filled. For these families, justice came with a bittersweet edge. Though Gumb was incarcerated and would never harm another person again, the memories of their loved ones remained marred by the horrific nature of his crimes. Over the years, Gumb's name became synonymous with pure evil, a figure whose story transcended the boundaries of true crime and seeped into popular culture. Books, documentaries, and films drew heavily from the details of his case, sensationalizing some aspects while overlooking others. Yet, for those who knew the victims, This media portrayal often felt exploitative, reducing real human suffering to entertainment. Despite the challenges, many of the victims' families found ways to transform their grief into purpose. Some became advocates for missing persons, dedicating their lives to ensuring no other family would have to endure the pain they had experienced. Others worked tirelessly to push for legislative changes such as better tracking of violent offenders and expanded mental health programs. Their resilience and determination became a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit. The lessons from the Gumb case remain relevant today. It underscored the importance of recognizing early warning signs in individuals displaying troubling behavior. Gumb's life, marked by trauma and neglect, was a glaring example of how untreated psychological issues could spiral into unthinkable violence. Mental health professionals and criminal psychologists often cite his case when advocating for better intervention strategies. Modern forensic techniques, such as DNA analysis and digital tracking, have significantly improved law enforcement's ability to prevent and solve crimes like those committed by Gumb. Yet, even with these advancements, the chilling reality is that individuals like him can still slip through the cracks, leaving devastation in their wake. The case serves as a sobering reminder of the work that remains to be done to safeguard communities. Moreover, the Gumb case led to greater scrutiny of how society portrays and sensationalizes crime. While public interest in true crime stories is natural, it raises important ethical questions about the balance between awareness and exploitation. How can we honor victims and educate the public without turning real-life tragedies into mere entertainment? These are questions that continue to shape the true crime genre today. The psychological elements of the case also sparked new research into the minds of violent offenders. Experts delved into the roots of psychopathy, seeking to understand how such profound detachment and cruelty could develop. The findings have contributed to a growing body of knowledge aimed at identifying and intervening before such individuals commit heinous acts. While these efforts are far from perfect, they represent hope in the fight against violent crime. In the years that followed Gumb's trial, his story remained a subject of fascination for both the media and academic circles. Universities included his case in criminology courses, using it as an example to teach the complexities of criminal psychology. Law enforcement agencies cited the case in their training programs to stress the importance of meticulous investigation and interagency collaboration. For the victims' families, however, the continued focus on Gumb was a source of pain. They fought tirelessly to ensure that the public remembered their loved ones for who they were: vibrant, unique individuals with dreams and aspirations, not just as names in a grim list of casualties. Their advocacy led to the creation of several foundations aimed at supporting families of violent crime victims. The enduring legacy of the case lies in the lessons it imparted to society. It highlighted the need for a more compassionate approach to mental health, stronger community ties, and vigilance in recognizing and addressing signs of distress in individuals. Gumb's story, while dark, became a catalyst for change in ways that transcended the criminal justice system. In the end, the story of Jame Gumb is one of both horror and humanity. It is a tale of unimaginable cruelty, but also of remarkable resilience. The lives of his victims, though tragically cut short, inspired a movement for justice and reform. Their memories live on, not just in the hearts of their loved ones, but in the ongoing efforts to build a safer world. As we close this chapter on one of history's most chilling criminal cases, we're reminded of the importance of vigilance and compassion. Every story, no matter how dark, holds lessons for those willing to learn. Thank you for joining us today on Mysteries and Crime. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and stay safe.